Did you know that oil or petroleum is like the superhero of our modern world? It's the backbone of our transportation systems and the secret ingredient behind many of our daily conveniences. From cars to gadgets, oil plays a crucial role in keeping things running smoothly. Let's take a closer look at cars, for example. Sure, we know that gasoline, both diesel and unleaded, is made from oil and powers our vehicles. But did you know that oil also sneaks its way into other parts of the car? Underneath the car's hood, oil continues its undercover work. It's responsible for keeping things well oiled, quite literally. Think about the fan belts, the battery box, and the bearing grease. And let's not forget about motor oil, the lifeblood of the engine. It keeps all the moving parts working smoothly like a well-rehearsed dance routine. Now, here comes the serious part. As much as we love and depend on oil, it's not an infinite resource. We can't keep tapping into it forever. Sooner or later, we'll run out. Imagine a world without oil. It's like a sci-fi movie where our cars sit still, our gadgets lose their power, and our modern conveniences become ancient relics. But hey, let's not panic just yet. Humans are pretty resourceful creatures. We've faced challenges before and come up with innovative solutions. But before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you want to get notified every time I upload a new video, click the bell icon as well. It really helps me out and I appreciate it a lot. All right, let's get started. Recently, we had a major plot twist in the form of a global pandemic. You might remember it as that time when life got turned upside down. Well, it had quite an impact on oil demand and consumption. When people were stuck at home and travel ground to a halt, the need for oil took a nosedive. In the spring of 2020, for instance, global oil demand dropped by over 15% compared to the previous winter. Airline flights were grounded and fewer people were hitting the road, which meant less need for oil. But fear not, oil consumption has been making a comeback since the pandemic shock. According to the International Energy Agency, the world's hunger for oil is estimated to be around 100 million barrels per day for the next few years. That's a lot of oil. In the United States, about 65% of those barrels will be refined into unleaded and diesel gasoline for our beloved cars, trucks, and buses. The remaining 35% gets divvied up for natural gases, aviation fuel, asphalt for our roads, plastics and lubricants to keep things running smoothly. So, even though the pandemic threw us a curveball, the demand for oil is bouncing back, and we're still guzzling barrels of the stuff. But remember, while oil plays a starring role in our lives, we should also keep an eye on finding alternative energy sources. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be fueling our cars with sunshine or running on the power of imagination. Have you ever wondered how much oil we actually have in this world of ours? Well, there's more to it than meets the eye. Let's dive into the fascinating world of oil reserves and discover the numbers behind this precious resource. One way to gauge our oil supply is by looking at proved reserves. These are the oil reserves that we believe can be extracted from the ground at a reasonable cost. It's like a treasure map, showing us the oil we can access without breaking the bank. But here's the twist. If the price of oil drops too low, some of these proved reserves become less attractive to recover because it would cost more to extract them than what we could sell the oil for. So, proved reserves are a bit like a moving target, influenced by the ever-changing price of oil. But wait, there's more to the story. We also have technically recoverable reserves, which take into account not just the proved reserves, but also the unproved ones. Technically recoverable reserves consider the oil that could be extracted, but it might not make financial sense to do so at the present moment. It's like having a treasure chest full of possibilities waiting for the right time to be opened. Now let's talk numbers. In 2020, the world had over 1.7 trillion barrels of proved reserves. That's a colossal amount of oil. But hold on tight because there's more to come. It's estimated that there are around 3 trillion barrels of unproved reserves out there, waiting to be tapped into. When you combine these proved and unproved reserves, we're looking at a staggering 4 trillion barrels of technically recoverable oil. That's enough to make any oil enthusiast's heart skip a beat. But let's put this into perspective. We consume about 100 million barrels of oil per day. With 4.7 trillion barrels available, proved and unproved, we have enough oil to last us around 47,000 days. That's over 128 years. Of course, this is assuming that it will be economically viable to extract all that oil. We need to consider factors like technology, environmental concerns, and of course, the price of oil itself. Picture this. A long time ago in the vast oceans, there were tiny creatures called plankton. These little fellas played a vital role in creating something extraordinary, petroleum, also known as oil. You see, petroleum, just like its fossil fuel cousins, has an origin story rooted in organic matter. While coal is mainly derived from plant matter, petroleum has a different recipe. It's made up mostly of those planktonic animals. Think of them as the cool kids of the fossil fuel family. When these planktonic creatures reach the end of their tiny lives, they sink down to the seafloor, becoming part of the sediment. Over millions of years, more and more sediment piles up, and this is where the magic happens. The pressure and heat from the layers above work their transformative powers on this organic matter, turning it into something special. First, the organic sediment undergoes a metamorphosis, morphing into a substance called kerogen and bitumen, which is natural asphalt. It's like the caterpillar turning into a chrysalis, preparing for its grand transformation. But wait, there's more to come. As the depths of the Earth increase, so does the pressure and heat. This puts the kerogen under intense conditions, leading to its breakdown into petroleum and natural gas. Now here's an interesting twist. You might think that oil and gas are found in gigantic underground lakes, ready to be tapped into. But my friend, the reality is quite different. Our Earth's crust is mostly solid rock, not a liquid paradise. However, some of these rocks are porous, meaning they have tiny gaps and spaces. Over millions of years, water, oil, and gas have seeped into these pores, making themselves at home. Because oil and gas are lighter than water, they rise to the top of these porous rocks like bubbles in a soda bottle. They keep climbing until they either reach the Earth's surface or get trapped beneath a non-porous rock layer. It's like a little game of hide and seek underground where the oil and gas find their own secret spots to stay. Let me take you on a journey through time, where humans have been getting their hands on oil for thousands of years. Yep, you heard it right, thousands of years. Our relationship with this gooey substance goes way back. Imagine yourself transported to ancient Babylon, a bustling city with magnificent walls that left people in awe. Those very walls were constructed using a special ingredient, bitumen. Bitumen is a super viscous form of oil, and the Babylonians knew how to put it to good use. They used it as a binding material to hold their walls together, showing off their engineering skills. Fast forward to the 4th century AD in China. The Chinese, always the clever ones, were drilling the world's first oil wells. They used iron drill bits and bamboo pipes, which is quite a creative combination if you ask me. These early oil wells were actually a result of the search for brine, a salty solution. But guess what? The Chinese folks discovered that oil had its own set of talents. They found various uses for it, from making ink to crafting medicines. Talk about resourcefulness. Now let's hop to the 9th century in Persia, where a brilliant mind named Abu Bakr al-Razi made an amazing discovery. He stumbled upon the process of distillation, which involved heating oil and collecting the vapors. This led to the creation of a valuable product called kerosene. So, if you ever wondered who paved the way for that illuminating kerosene lamp, you have Al-Razi to thank. But our journey doesn't stop there. In 1848, a Scottish scientist named James Young stepped onto the scene and took the distillation process to new heights. He turned it into a thriving commercial enterprise, bringing oil into the modern age. He knew there was more to this sticky substance than meets the eye, and he made sure the world knew it too. Just a little over a decade later, a historic moment unfolded in Pennsylvania. The world's first profitable oil well was drilled, igniting an oil boom like no other. This marked the birth of major oil companies that still thrive today. One key factor that can sway the fate of oil is the behavior of us, the consumers, and the decisions made by governments. You see, economists have their theories, and they believe that the rise in electric car demand will eventually offset the demand for oil by a whopping 20 million barrels per day within the next 25 years. That's quite a punch, isn't it? Don't forget that life loves to throw curveballs. If there's a sudden spike in oil prices, like a roller coaster ride gone wild, people might hop onto the electric car bandwagon sooner than expected. After all, who wouldn't want to save some bucks when gas prices skyrocket? Now let's talk about the price of oil itself. Buckle up, because it's known as one of the most unpredictable commodities out there. It's like a wild horse that gallops freely, not bound by any rules. You see, the price of oil is influenced by the classic forces of supply and demand, but that's not all. It's also incredibly sensitive to market speculation. Yes, you heard it right. Those clever traders and their speculations can sway the price of oil faster than you can say barrel of crude. If a rumor starts spreading that there might be a war or a natural disaster that could disrupt the oil supply, you better believe that prices will skyrocket. It's like a game of telephone where one whisper can cause a frenzy. And when the price of crude oil goes up, its derivatives like gasoline follow suit. It's like a domino effect that affects our wallets at the pump. When it comes to the future of oil, we find ourselves in a waiting game. We can't control the tides of fate, but we can make our voices heard. How, you ask? Well, one option is to embrace the electric revolution by buying a Tesla or any other electric vehicle. It's like joining the cool kids at the party and giving a little nudge to the oil industry. Well, folks, that wraps up our journey through the captivating world of oil. From ancient civilizations to modern-day dilemmas, we've explored the past, present, and future of this slippery substance. We've learned how oil has been an integral part of human history, dating back thousands of years. From the walls of Babylon made with bitumen to the first oil wells drilled in China, our ancestors knew how to put this black gold to good use. And let's not forget the brilliant minds that shaped the course of oil's evolution. Abu Bakr al-Razi's discovery of distillation, James Young's commercial prowess, and that groundbreaking oil well in Pennsylvania that birthed the giants of the industry.